The process of acknowledging and working with emotions is directly proportional to your ability to listen well. There is a huge distinction between being able to hear and being able to listen. Being able to hear is about the mechanics or the physical components of hearing. It is what you hear, whether loud or soft, clear or muffled. But listening involves attention, cognition, and understanding, and this can be summed up as your competency or skill level in listening. I'd like to point out a few of the most common types of listening. Ignoring. This is rather self-explanatory. You are able to hear, but just ignore what is being said. Your attention and focus is somewhere else. Pretend listening. In this type of listening, you make as if you are listening, but actually are putting your attention somewhere else. Usually, we are wanting the other person to believe we are listening to them, but we aren't. Selective listening. This form of listening is actually similar to pretend listening in that we are wanting the other person to believe we are listening. The difference here is that to some degree, we are now also wanting to understand a bit more of what is being said. So we selectively catch phrases and snippets of what we hear so we can get a rough understanding of what is being said. Mirroring. This is a skill where you say back to the person the exact same words they said to you, so you are like a mirror to them. For most people, it requires full attention to recall the exact same words. But this form of listening is parrot fashion and doesn't mean you actually understand anything of what the other person has said. Space to explore. This is about you creating space for them to deepen their own understanding of what they are saying. This is about saying as little as possible and allowing the other person to keep sharing as they don't have to listen to your responses back to them. They can now keep exploring what they are saying, deepen it as they share it. It is about you being attentive. But this also doesn't mean you have to understand anything of what they are saying. Reflective listening. This is where you reflect back the same content of what the other person has shared with you, but using your own words. It can be a bit like translating what they have said into your own words, ensuring that the meaning stays the same. This shows you must have understood the words that they said, but not necessarily the motivational meaning behind why they said it. This form of listening is the basic building block of successful communication, and in a few minutes is the one we are going to get to grips with first. But here is a bit more that may interest you. For many people, reflective listening is the end goal of their skill sets. If they could achieve this, then they believe they will be successful communicators. In my world, reflective listening is only the first basic skill. It is not enough on its own. And I say this because reflective listening is like being able to see an iceberg on the surface of the sea. You only see 10% of what is really going on underneath. And when you start listening not only for what is being said, but also for what is not being said, you will hear a whole new world that even the speaker probably isn't even conscious of. Let me take an example to show this, which most parents have had experience in. You have a 1-year-old baby. Your baby starts crying. You can hear this. If you could reflectively listen to this, you might say, "It sounds like you're a bit upset and something is not working for you." But most parents search for the reason why their child is crying. They want to understand what is motivating their child to cry. Is my child hungry? Maybe a wet nappy? Maybe stuck wind? In this, the parents look behind the words to see what is not being said and to see if they can understand the motivational driver of the outcry. This leads me on to the next listening skill set. Understanding what they are saying. In this, you actually do understand what they are saying and what they are meaning. In other words, your skills in listening well. But just because you are listening well, this doesn't mean that you know how to convey that back to them such that they feel and experience being understood. This is your skill in articulating this back to them. So making them feel understood in the meaning is a skill where you have fully understood the meaning of what they have said and them experiencing this. The key part here is that they need to feel you have understood them. They will keep nodding their head and saying yes to you. Making them feel understood, the motivation. Understanding what they have said, in other words the meaning, is the first layer. But understanding what core need is motivating them to say what it is that they are trying to express is another whole layer. In this skill, you can convey this back to them such that they feel that you have totally got them. It is in this skill set that the feeling of having met one's soulmate is experienced. You know that feeling where someone understands you even though you hardly say anything at all? And the last part of my listening skills is about consciously listening their soul into self-discovery and disclosure. This is about creating strategic spaces and questions for them to discover and disclose themselves to themselves. These last few skill sets we cover in depth in the advanced courses as they require a bit more time and experience. But for this session, we will focus on the skills of reflective listening. This next section first describes how to learn the skills of reflective listening. It lasts for about 5 minutes. After that, I have given you 3 more sets of examples, about 3 minutes each, but have split them up into 3 age groups that are of a 5-year-old, 10-year-old, and 16-year-old, such that you can see how the skill applies to any age range. In the skill integration program for this session, I will provide you with a link to more exercises for you to do on my website.